So thank you everybody today for taking some time and joining us for another mscrm-addons.com webinar. My name's Clint Higley. Today what we're going to be covering is how to set up automated documents inside processes in Microsoft Dynamics 365. This is something that I really enjoy doing, kind of showing you how to kind of automate things in Dynamics 365 for some of y'all. This is going to be some stuff that you've seen before, but hopefully there's something in there for you that you haven't seen before that you take something away from it. As usual, we do record all these webinars. We will send you a copy of these slides and a link to where you can get the webinar video, if you want to go back and review. So please feel free to do that. Another thing is that again, I just want to say that I've got some colleagues in here in the chat with me. The chat's going to be down in your lower left-hand corner of the screen. Just click on that chat tab. Ask any questions that you want. We'll get those answered. And then at the end, time permitting, I'll have Michael Dorr come on and we'll do a little question and answer session and try to get some of those questions that you may have left over from the webinar after seeing the whole thing. We'll get those answered for you. So without further ado, I'm just going to kind of step into it here. And we're going to talk today a little bit about, today's topic is processes, so mainly we're talking about workflows here. And some of the main benefits when using Dynamics 365 workflows. And this is kind of important because it's something that, just as we work with CRM, we kind of forget, what's the benefit? I mean, why do we use these workflows? Well, for the users, basically the users see this as a way, it kind of like increases productivity for the users. It reduces basically mundane tasks that seem like a chore for them, like, having to, like, they're filling out a quote and they're doing an opportunity and then they have to create a new invoice for it, a new order, et cetera, et cetera. This is something that workflows can kind of do for you and do in the background. And that basically, it basically frees up your users' time to perform other tasks. One of the things that I skipped over there was another thing that it does for you is you're able to process huge workloads in no time. So basically, as a user, you're going to get on there, these workflows fire off, and they kind of do all the work and the automation, everything like that's done in the background. So it helps with basically your users are going to want to use the system because it's going to be kind of helpful for them. Just by having these things kind of going on. From the business side, one of the things that we mainly see when people start using workflows a little bit more regularly in their CRM systems is we see a big reduction in errors. Basically, you reduce a lot of these errors, people filling things out wrong, maybe missing some fields that they need to be filling out, and it also gives you more control over the environment. You also end up getting a higher level of data consistency. Because the workflow is going to run the same way every time. Sometimes some users, they'll get in there and they'll do some things differently every time. But a workflow, it never deviates. It does exactly what you tell it to do. So you get that data consistency in there, and that's a big deal. And you get standard of inbound and outbound communication. So, with workflows and everything like that, you can fire off emails. You can set tasks for people. You can send email reminders, things of that nature. You can do that all with a workflow, and it kind of helps coordinate things, with your communication internally and externally as well. So what we want to talk a little bit about here is DocumentsCorePack. And what does DocumentsCorePack add to the processing and generation of documents inside Dynamics 365 with a workflow? Basically, one of the main points is, naturally, I've already touched on it, is document generation. You have the ability to create documents in various formats, whether that be PDF, DocX, those are the two main ones. Also, you're able to generate rich email content right there. Inside your workflow, you can do that as well. If you're familiar with the dialog and you've used the HTML function with sending an email, about this. It's a really, really handy thing. Some of the processing options that you can do with that, after you've created those documents, you can attach it to an email and send it on. You can do e-signatures. You can save it to SharePoint. You can even create SharePoint folders. You can do printing. You can do concatenations. You can do a whole lot of stuff. So really what we do is we offer you a lot more processing options. Just in, it's a little small package, but you get a lot of extra processing options that you can kind of add to your workflows as well. And some additional things and some examples. You can schedule workflows to run at certain times with our scheduler. Scheduler tool is something that I've covered in a previous workflow. So if you didn't, not workflow. God, I'm getting those confused. But in a previous webinar. So if you haven't seen that webinar, you can go back to our page and kind of check that webinar out. It's really handy. So it allows you to run any workflow at any time that you want. You can schedule that. You can create SharePoint locations. I've seen a lot of people actually use that to create the SharePoint locations so they don't have to do them manually. Some examples here would be, you want to send orders or you want to send shipping information. You can do that with the workflow. Do approval, and you can initiate processes, and you can do schedule reports as well. So a lot of things that we kind of add to it, just the small little piece that we add to these workflows that you can already do a lot with, that kind of extends workflows, the abilities of workflows greatly as far as like document generation is concerned, and a few other things. So that's basically all the slides that I have today. Today, the demo that we're going to go over, we're going to do a step-by-step demo here. So I'm going to actually do this for you. We're going to generate and send a document inside a workflow. And we're going to actually basically go over how do you create documents in a workflow, give you kind of an overview of how to use the auto-merge working items to create documents, which is a little piece that we add there. Second thing that we're going to do is we're going to show you the e-signature process, and basically show you how to trigger an e-signature process via a workflow. Today we're going to be showing DocuSign to do that, so it's pretty neat. And then because we are using DocuSign, we're going to do some advanced processing here, and we're going to show you how to kind of catch that return of the signed document once it gets back into CRM to kind of fire a workflow off of that and kind of do things afterwards. And part of the reason that we're kind of showing this today is we've had a lot of people actually asking for this, and we thought that this would be just a great thing to show everybody. And so without further ado, I'm going to flip over here to my CRM system here. And so what we're going to do here is, you know how much I love my my Bison components here. I show this one all the time. So we're basically going to be using this quote. And what we want to do is we want to generate a document, and then after we generated that document, we want to start our e-signature process. We want to send that out, get that signed, and once it comes back inside of CRM, we either want, I'm actually going to create a task for the owner of this particular quote that they need to do something. But naturally, I'll show you, you can kind of extend that also. Let's go into our processes here. If you're, you can go here, settings, go to your processes here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a brand spanking new process here. So we first, naturally, you got to give it a name. So we're going to call this, let's see, quote, Q, DocuSign. Okay, and then we give this category here. This is going to be a workflow, and then I have to give it the particular entity here. So I'm going to give it a quote. Go to the quotes here. Tell the entity that we're running this on is a quote. So this is just basic, workflow, how you kind of set up a workflow, run the workflow in the background. Always recommended. I always do this. New blank process. The only thing I can say is your process name. You probably want to come up with something a little better with this. In CRM systems, usually you get a lot of workflows in there, so you probably want to have a naming convention for that. But so all we do is once we're done with that, we have it set up. We'll just go ahead and click OK, and that brings us right into our workflow piece here. So let me go ahead and blow this up for everyone here. All right, so the first thing we want to do here, and this is just going to be a basic workflow, basic outline, so you can incorporate this actually into your other workflows, but this is just kind of show you how easy it is to kind of add this functionality to either your workflows or this particular workflow. So first thing I want to do here is I want to start off here by adding a step, and I'm going to create a record because first thing I want to do is create the document. Okay, So here, you know, it's always great to give it a title here. So create document. And then in order to do this, what we need to do is we need to create a record, and the record that we're creating is an auto-merge working item. Now what these auto-merge working items actually do, I'll go ahead and here and set the properties on this and blow this up so you can see it. What these actually do is this is our little piece here that that communicates when you with the service, and does basically just kind of everything on here with the, like for example, like if I want to create a document, or if I want to concatenate, or if I want to attach to a letter, email, attach to an entity, etc. This is basically what we fill out here. Basically, I'll just start over here from the beginning here. Basically, what I want to do here in this auto-merge working item is, you know, you want to start off by giving it a name. This name can be anything, but you know, you want it to be descriptive. I'm creating a document here, and again, give it the auto-merge action that I want it to do. This one here being create document, because I'm just going to create the document. Now here, owner, you can leave that blank. Primary record URL, and again, what I was saying before is that this primary record, well, this is URI or URL. Yeah, I need glasses. But basically, what this is the record that we're running this, that we're doing this things against, so that we know what data we need to merge against. So basically, what I was saying is here is this is usually a dynamic value because we're running this against different records. So what we need to do is we need to come over here in this point here, and from our dynamic values, we need to look for the quote, and then we need to look for here, it's called, let me look for it. It's always hard to find. It's called record URL dynamic. Okay, so we select that, we add it, and we click OK. So then we have that value in there. So that's going to be filled out with the URL for whatever record that we're running this against. Here in the next part, since I'm just creating the document here, I'm going to give it the template to execute, and I can pick any template that I want to. One thing of importance here, I'm going to pick this one, DS underscore quote with grouping English. One thing that's really important here is, you know, we can't really differentiate between all the templates. It's really important that you select a template for the entity type that you're running it against. So, you know, like if I selected here a template for an account, this would actually end up failing. So it's basically the template has to match the entity type of the workflow that we're running this against. Okay. So I select my my template. Over here from the drop-down, I can select any type. I can save it as anything that I want to. Here, I'm just going to choose PDF. And then we get to this little piece here, create a document. We leave that blank. So here we get to the, for me, is probably like one of our most confusing settings here. This basically save only into temp. Basically, what this basically translates to is, would you like to save this to SharePoint, or to, if you're still using File Explorer, if you want to save it there. So if you want to save it to SharePoint, you would click No. If you want to save this record into our temporary directory only, which is, you can see that it's a, it's called mscrm-addons user/temp. That's where we kind of store documents. So that you can like recall them in workflows, which is what I'm kind of about to do here. You say yes. So remember, you want to save it to SharePoint. Go ahead and say no here. If you want to, just if it doesn't matter, you just say yes. Okay. So that's pretty much it. This little piece right here, this is actually just going to go and create this document for me against any quote record that I throw this against. It's actually going to use this. So here, once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and save and close. And it gets me back to my workflow. So now, basically here, what I need to do is I want to add a step here, and I want to start the signing process. One thing that's really important, though, here is that these auto-merge working items, they're actually used by our service. Now, our service and CRM, they don't communicate directly, okay? So in order to make sure that I can continue to process the workflow, like say for example here, let's just say here that I add the step to sign the document and I reference the document from this step. Sometimes you'll get the thing where the service hasn't created the document, but the workflow will keep on running. So you'll end up getting an error here, during the signing process, saying like, hey, I can't find this document, it hasn't been created. So what we have to do in order to kind of to make this work, what we have to do is we have to add a wait condition here. So we add our wait here. So let's see here. So our wait condition is basically, so we want to set that our local value here, our created document status equals inactive. Okay? So once the record is created, once the AutoMerge working item is created, it's set to active, and then the service picks it up, and then once the service is done with it, it sets it to inactive. And that is the way that we know that that this has been processed. And this is why we set this wait condition here to set to wait until this piece is inactive. Okay. Usually with the creation of a document, it doesn't take very long. I mean, you're not waiting very long on this, so it's not really a big deal. So here now, here we want to start and tell, basically start the signing process. So here again, I need to create another record. So I'll call this sign here, and I'm going to create another AutoMerge working item here. Let's see, it's right down here on AutoMerge working item. And just to check in real quick, is the sound still okay?
Yes, it is, as far as I can tell.
Okay, excellent, excellent, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. So again, here we are again at an AutoMerge working item. Again, this time it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to call this just sign. Our AutoMerge action this time that we're going to select is actually sign document. So basically, as you can see, you know, whatever I want to do in here, I just kind of pick it. So I'm going to say, you know, I'm going to sign the document. Here again, primary record URL. We've kind of gone over that as well. So I want to get the primary record URL of the record that we're running this against. This is so that when DocuSign is done, it actually delivers that that signed document back to the notes section of that particular record. So here I pick my record dynamic URL, add that, and set it in here. Now I need to, I'll blow this up. Now I need to scroll on down here to the section signed document here. Here I need to provide a document GUID. Okay, so and how I do that, it's relatively simple. Again, I want to go up here into my dynamic values. Here what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the local value of where I actually created the document before. This document is going to be stored in the user temp. So I'm able to actually reference it and use it again in this workflow step. So here I want to create a document. I'll add that. I'll say OK, sticks it right in there. The next thing is I want to use select the signing provider. Who am I using? We have two options for DocumentsCorePack. We have AssureSign and we have DocuSign. Today we're going to be using DocuSign. The next two fields here, basically it's name and an email. Who am I sending this to? I'm actually just going to hard code these today. All right, so Clint Higley. But these can be dynamic values. Okay, so you can actually set these as dynamic values. And again, if you have a document that has multiple signees on it, you can separate those with what we call a pipe or it's a slash. It's just a little. It's just on the English keyboard. It's right above Enter. It's Shift in the backslash key. So that'll give you the pipe. And then you would add just another name right here. You'd add your second name. If you had a document here that had two signees. This document here only has one signee. That's another thing that I kind of wanted to point out here is that you know, with DocuSign, you define the amount of signees on the document. There is no ability to do, like, say for example, I have an account and I want all the contacts to sign this. So I want to use the one-to-many relationship from account to contacts and have all these dynamic, you know, like it doesn't matter how many, I want them all to sign it. That's not possible. You have to actually define how many signees you have here. So you insert their name and their email here. Again, these can be dynamic values here again, such as, you know, the name, the full name of the the account's primary contact and the email address of the primary contact. You can set those in there. That's pretty much it. That's how I kind of start the, that lets me know that I'm going to start the DocuSign process. So here, once again, I'll save and close. And once again, I need to set another wait condition. So I need to wait for this to, for DocumentsCorePack to do its thing and you know, set all the fields and set it up correctly. So I'm going to set another wait condition, same as above here. So it's just, I select the local values here. Here I'm selecting the one above that, so the signing process. This is why it's always good to kind of label things, even though I'm kind of stepping through it a little fast. Always good to label things. I wanted to set that so that the status equals inactive. All right? Save and close that. Okay. So last but not least, in order to kind of, so we've created a document, we've set it up to be ready to be sent to DocuSign, and now we need to send it to DocuSign. So what we need to do here is we need to add another step, the final step here. So we're going to add this step here, and now we're going to come into here. This is the document, the BCP workflow sandbox. You'll see it here. If you have BCP installed, you'll have it right down here. You're going to select that, and let's see here. And then we want to select, let me see, oops, did I select the wrong one? Oh, is it under, oh, there we go, there we go. I was like, I can't see it. I need some glasses really badly. So here, my DCP workflow sandbox here, we have a little piece in here called trigger sub workflow. This is actually a really nice functionality here. Again, though, as you can see, this will only work with DocumentsCorePack, so don't try to trigger other workflows or anything like that with it. This is what it's designed to do, because you may pass incorrect things to it. So basically, what we're doing here is we're taking this particular record here, the one where we've set this up and we've set up the whole the signing process here from DocuSign. We're taking that here from our dynamic values again, sign, and we're taking the, hang on a second, we are taking the record URL dynamic. So we're basically taking this record, we're taking that information, and we're going to pass it to a workflow. Hang on. No. Yeah. It's called DCP DocuSign workflow. All right, DocuSign workflow. And basically what this workflow does is this is the whole thing that's actually going to, take that document that's already been prepped as a DocuSign document, and then that's going to start the process of sending that off to DocuSign to start the whole signing process, okay? So it's important that we have this set up correctly. So we're taking that, just going to run this other workflow. We'll save and close that. And that is pretty much it. This is all you have to do to trigger the signing of a document inside of a workflow. So we'll go ahead and we'll save this, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just activate this one so it's ready to go. All right. One thing that I want to do though as well, so basically what happens is this goes through, it creates the document, it sets it up, it gets it ready for DocuSign, and then this last step sends it off to DocuSign to sign. Then we start to do the signing process where everybody goes through and they sign the document depending on how many signees that you have. Okay, and then what DocuSign does is it takes that and it returns it to CRM in the notes section of the particular record that you defined here. All right, so for us, what we want to do is we want to kind of catch that. We want to catch when that document is actually returned to us. Okay, and how we do that is with another workflow. Now, DocuSign adds a few entities to let's see. I just want to call this. Okay. Basically, DocuSign adds a few entities, but the one we're interested in here is called. Let's see. Scroll on down to the. It's called the DocuSign transaction. This basically kind of keeps up with the entire DocuSign process. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up. It's for the DocuSign transaction. I'll click OK. I'm just going to quickly kind of move this out of the way before you get started and just kind of show you one of those real quick. It just takes just a brief second to kind of bring those up, just so you have a general idea of what that thing looks like. Okay, so we'll go with DocuSign transactions. I know I have a few in here, I think. There we go. So I'll just open this up, this one particular record here. And this kind of shows you here. It just basically has your envelope ID. This is something that DocuSign uses to kind of track the whole thing. And what we're interested in here is our envelope status. Okay, it can be, I think it's in progress or completed. Just going to go ahead and copy that out. This is just a standard string field. And then it gives you your last check status. It's the transaction, the process that it's in, who's the sender. And then there's a couple more hidden fields that we're going to actually access to make this whole thing work for us. So that's basically what this looks like, and this is basically what we're going off of here. So I'll have my workflow here. So what I want to do here is I want to run this as an on-demand process, which reminds me that I need to set that other one as an on-demand process. Let me do that really quickly before I go into this. And let's see here. This is very important. This would have been great. There we go. We'll activate that. All right, so now we're set. So now we're back here, so you can run this as an on-demand process if you'd like, but here what we're doing is we're concerned when a record field changes. And the field we are interested in is the, let's see here, 1 second, I'm going to find it, is the envelope status. All right, so we're interested when the envelope status changes, okay? So the first thing we have to do here is we're basically going to add a condition. So we're going to check a condition. So this, whenever that field changes, the workflow is going to fire. Then the first thing we want to do is check our condition here. So what we're looking for is just the DocuSign transaction record. If it is the, let's see, the envelope status, we want it to be equal to completed, which is why I copied this out, because it's an actual string field. So make sure that you don't misspell that. Like when I was messing around with it, I did. This will never then work. So you need to be really careful here. You need to add this in completed, and then once you're done, save and close. After you're done with that, this is where you can basically do anything you want to. So after it gets back, say I want to create a task for my owning user. So hang on here, let's check. Okay, and then okay, so this is really simple here. Here, 1 second, let me get this up here a little bit so you can see it a little better. So I want to create a task, and once again, I'll just set my properties here. So the subject is, oops. And then you can give it a little description. Of course, naturally you probably want to do this all in the same workflow here. Set my regarding here. For my dynamic values, I want to set it to here's what I'm talking about, the kind of these fields that are somewhat hidden. There's one in here called quote lookup. So there's a lookup to the actual quote that the DocuSign transaction is running against. It's really nice here, so I can say here the quotes, add that as my regarding. Set anything else that I want to set here. So for example, here the owner is the owning. We'll set it to the owner, add, or say OK, and save and close. So that's pretty much it. Again, this is just a really simple thing, but you can see you can make it as complicated as you want it. Once the thing comes back in signed, you can create a new invoice, you can create an order, you can set the quote to active, you can do all kinds of stuff. So here I want to set this to active, and once that's done, make sure that's on-demand process. Run this field is changed. On-demand process, and let's run it and see if I did all right. So here we go. So I've got my record here, and again, I'm just going to run this workflow. And that's pretty much it. I mean, as a user, basically what's happening now, this stuff's all happening in the background. If I wanted to send this quote, or if I had another way, let's say for example I had a smart bar, a button that says, send DocuSign email, I could click that and that would fire off the workflow, or something in here, I could little checkbox to say, send quote via DocuSign, and check that and save it, and then that fires off the workflow. So you can do a lot here. So as this is going here, let's just go ahead and check in on it. Again, this is all just kind of running here in the background. So that's in progress right now. We're waiting. We can look inside of it here and see where we are. So this is all DocumentsCorePack. We're waiting on this to trigger. So waiting on a few things to trigger, but as you can see, the users they're on to other things. So that's gone ahead and succeeded. So let's come on over here to my email, and I'm just waiting for this to come in here. But all right, let me just check one quick thing here. Just make sure that this fired off correctly. There we go. Oh yeah, so we're basically now at the point where we're just waiting on DocuSign. So the sub workflow fired. And let me just close out a few of these. Check my email here real quick. Okay, great. So I've got an email here from DocuSign here asking me to review my document. I'll bring this on over for you so you can have a look at it. This is the actual DocuSign process here. You're going to click on that email, you're going to get that, and you're going to review the document here. Here's my quote that I sent to them. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign that real quick and say finish. And there's that process done. So we'll close this out. And again, back to CRM. And it does take it just a few moments here to get into here. So while we're doing that, let's check in on this other process and see, and wait till it has fired. Let's see, the DocuSign return. Oh, ooh, love this. So let's see here. Let's see if it's processed. There we go. It succeeded at 11:41. Ooh, I've run a little long here. I apologize for that. I apologize for the other issues here. But here we can come in here. Let's check out our notes. Okay, we can see that the documents come back here into CRM. We can open that up. We can take a look at it. Here's the e-signature on it. Again, back to here, and let's just make sure and reload this. Oh, there we go. There's my task right there. So I've got my task created for me. Again, this could be an email that can be sent to your user. This could be, they could automatically go ahead and create that invoice and order for you. So again, that with document automation, that is just, again, it's a time saver. That whole process took, kind of while I was clicking around and just kind of trying to show you the flow there. That was about 5 minutes that your user could have been doing something else. Instead of having to create this DocuSign document themselves, waiting on that to get back, putting it back into CRM, and creating all that stuff. So yeah, so that is pretty much all that I have for you to get today. Thank you for joining. I'm really sorry about the sound problems here. Just a few things real quick. And naturally, of course, you can find us on the web at www.mscrm-addons.com. Again, our help center. If you go to our main website and you click on the support tab, that'll get you over to us. Again, our blog, you can find that as well under the support tab. You'll see a blog. There's a lot of useful information in there. And again, our weekly product introductory webinars. If you go to www.mscrm-addons.com/events, you can find out more about the products you don't know. Again, contact information is below. As this is kind of run very, very long, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you all for coming.